My brothers and sisters from Africa, how are you guys doing? I hope everyone is fine. And thank you for being there for us. Thank you for watching our videos. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. And thank you for every single help you've sent our way. We really, really do appreciate it. And we hope that with your support, we can build a very huge platform that can be there to educate us and also to educate future ones who are going to come across this video. Because remember, like I have told you before, the progress and development of Africa is our collective responsibility. We all are responsible for Africa, and we must work together to build our beloved continent, Africa. Now, you might be asking yourself, what can I really do to make a difference in Africa? I am but a nobody. I am but a commoner. And I understand that and understand where you might be coming from with questions like that. But I also want to let you know something, that everything big starts from small. Anything you see now, everything you see around you was just a concept that the people who created it thought of. They never thought it was going to be something huge. They never thought it was going to influence the world the way it is influencing the world now. So if you have anything that you are doing, do not minimize it. Do not say, I am about a commoner. What can I really do to make an impact? Don't say that. Just do it nevertheless. Just do it, because we are all connected in one way or the other. And the things you do will have a positive impact on other people. So my brothers and sisters, if you have the means to go online and share your thoughts and opinion about Africa, do that. If you have the means to work your farm and grow crops that might fit somebody, do that. If you are a trader who sells stuffs in the market, keep on doing it. You also matter. You matter a lot. So my brothers and sisters, keep doing what you are doing. Keep making the small but meaningful progress. And believe it or not, things will happen. Things will change. So let's run along with some of the stories making the headlines from our beloved continent, Africa. President Macky Sall's government has taken measures to suppress public unrest with the suspension of a private TV channel, World TV, and the temporary halt of mobile internet access to curb demonstrations. The unrest began after President Sall announced the postponement, citing disagreement over the candidate list and allegations of corruption among constitutional judges. Reports suggest that clashes erupted when police used tear gas to disperse protesters, who responded by throwing stones. Authorities accused World TV of inciting violence, leading to the suspension of its broadcast signal. While mobile internet access was temporarily suspended to address the dissemination of inflammatory messages on social networks, contributing to threats of public disorder. You know, it's funny to see this kind of thing happening in Africa again and again and again, right? Leaders will take decisions that they know will spark public outcry, that they know will cause people to start protesting. And when people do that, they then turn around and cut off internet access and block TV channels for quote unquote inciting violence. Before they took that decision, they knew the outcome already. They must have weighed the consequences of the action, but they took it all the same. You know, Africa, they just believe that whenever people protest, the first thing they should do is try to silence the protesters. They will cut off internet supplies. They will start rounding up people and throwing them in jail. And that is just it. The authoritarian way that our African leaders handle situations sometimes is really out of control. You will ask yourself that, are we moving forward or backward? Now, Macky Sall here is claiming that the reason for the cancellation or the postponement of elections was because candidates are complaining of fraud and the bribes. But hadn't been that he was in the election, hadn't been that he could run in the election, I would strongly guess that he would not have postponed the elections. But because he cannot go in for a third term, now he has postponed elections. African leaders, they always find an excuse to postpone elections. With the least thing, they will postpone elections, especially when the elections is not going their way. Especially when the election is not in their favor, they will postpone it. But I'm glad that my brothers and sisters from Senegal did not take this lying down. They came into the street and they started protesting. Protest is a very, very effective tool that the people can use. I think that was last year. He wanted to go in for a third term. People came out and protest, and then he stepped back and he said he wouldn't go in for a third term. He was just like testing the water to see how deep it is. Hadn't been that people came out to protest, he would have gone in for a third term. So my brothers and sisters in Senegal, do not let anyone trample on your rights. Fight for what is yours. The people are more powerful than the leaders. The people are the one putting the leaders in power. So the leaders are accountable to the people. Always remember that. So let's move on to our next story for the day. Opposition supporters face arrest and tear gas from the police during protests on Sunday, expressing their discontent with President Macky Sall's decision to delay Senegal's scheduled February 25th elections. Simultaneously, federal lawmakers were gearing up to deliberate on a bill formalizing the postponement. The capital, demonstrators gathered after prominent opposition figures and presidential candidates rejected Saturday's announcement regarding the election delay. The postponement decision by President Sall stemmed from a dispute between the judiciary and parliament over the final list of candidates, leading to disqualification. Despite this, at least 2 of the 20 candidates declared their intent to proceed with their scheduled campaign launch on Sunday. So you see what is going on right now. The judiciary is now having a loggerhead with members of parliament. They are now fighting who supersedes who. And it's difficult to know who is in charge of elections and how are all these things carried out. But if there's one thing that is clear about this, is that Macky Sall wants to stay in power. That was why he postponed the election. Because if he had no intention of staying in power, He wouldn't care who is on the list and who is not on the list. He will just ensure that the election can run smoothly. The fact that he took this decision to postpone elections means that maybe his own favorite candidate is not on the list. And that was why he thought that nothing was going to happen if his own candidate is not on the list. So he postponed the election. The people are not taking this easy with him. The people are like, no, we will not accept this from you. We will not take this line low. You cannot just come in and postpone everything. And remember, the election was supposed to take place on the 25th of February. A lot of preparations must have been done by now. And for him to just come in and just postpone the elections. Like why? Why? We all just have to wait and see if the people's voices will carry the day. So, let's move on to our next story for the day. President William Ruto of Kenya has attributed the tragic explosion and fire at a liquid petroleum plant in one of Nairobi's densely populated residential areas to corruption and the incompetence of officials. He emphasized the need for the dismissal and prosecution of those responsible for granting licenses to the plant. Additionally, the police are actively seeking the owners of the site. The incident, which occurred on Thursday, resulted in 3 fatalities and over 280 injuries, with at least 24 people in critical conditions. The massive fireball engulfed the gas depot, causing extensive damage to homes and warehouses, and triggered separate fires as gas cylinders were propelled over significant distances. My brothers and sisters, it's no new story about corruption and bribery in Africa. Africa has a serious problem with corruption. Until I have said this like 1,000 times on my show. And until we begin to reduce the level of corruption in Africa to a significant level, we won't go anywhere. The level of corruption is totally out of control. A lot of things in Africa are not done properly. And I understand that accidents do happen. That is for sure. Everywhere, accidents do happen. But sometimes the negligence from officials might exacerbate the degree of the accident. If a proper investigation is being carried out in Kenya, we will come to realize that a lot of corners were cut during the building of this depot. A lot of safety measures were not put in place. And that was why when an accident like this happened, a lot of people will be affected. So we will hope that William Ruto will get to the bottom of this issue. And I know it's such a huge task for him to take on. But let's wish him all the best. After all, he promised to fix the country. He promised to get rid of corruption. So let's hope he can do that. So, let's move on to our next story for the day. Kenya's President William Ruto has offered a defense for his participation in the Italy African Summit this week. This move comes several months after he vocally criticized the practice of summoning African leaders to foreign capitals. Yeah, I think the internet is a very, very dangerous place. When you say something on the internet, you must be very careful because that thing will be there. And anytime in the future that you go against that thing, people are going to bring it and show it to you. I can remember clearly when William Ruto made the statement that African leaders need to stand up for themselves and that African leaders need to give themselves enough credibility, and they shouldn't allow themselves to be bossed like school children who are attending kindergarten. And that there was no need for one country in Europe to sit there and invite 54 countries in Africa for our summit. That it doesn't make any sense. That if there was an invitation for African countries to come, the AU should just delegate a few people to go there. And everybody cheer him up for saying that. Everybody clap for him for saying that. And then this summit happened when the Prime Minister of Italy, I think Giorgia Meloni, invited them, and then they all went. And the Kenyans were like, this man, we cannot trust you anymore because you said something and then you were doing something different. So they came out and then they blasted at him like all over the internet. So I want us to read a few comments, right, to hear what people are saying about William Ruto. So let's see. So this person said, that man has been zombified. He is not normal anymore. So don't judge him as the old Ruto. The same thing happened to Mandela. The signs were there when he divorced his wife. Second, he dropped the land and economic freedom of which he went to prison for. But people still think he is still the old Mandela mentally. I think Ruto has been spiked by Western professional doctors. I have been studying these African leaders closely, and I have noticed that they are all acting the same. Let me just say something before we continue. This is the same question I have asked about South Africa, about the so-called the end of apartheid in South Africa. When Mandela took over the political leadership of South Africa, did that benefit the black South Africans or not? Because to the best of my knowledge, black South Africans are still suffering, like they are still at the bottom of the food chain. The white South Africans own almost every single thing in the country. So why did Mandela accept to take over the political system of the country, but not the economy? Why did he allow the whites to still keep all the wealth they have generated during the period of apartheid? Why? I have asked this question, and let me just ask it one more time. And I hope my viewers, those of you from South Africa, might educate me on this. Mandela becoming the leader of South Africa, how much benefit did that bring to the people in South Africa? I mean, economically. How much better did their lives get when Mandela became the president of South Africa? Please educate me. I'll be very happy to learn from you. But let's continue. The next person said, that's Ruto true colors. He used to spread lies. The next one, he has always been like that, a violently entitled boy seeking attention and power over people. The next one, I can't argue with this. Like everyone seems to agree that Ruto is not really who we might think he is. Let's continue. Dude, no one did anything to him. He is like most politicians. Say one thing, do another. They say what they know people want to hear to get elected. He is doing what he wanna do. And that is true. And that is really true. You know, politicians have understood the people so much. Politicians know the people very well. Politicians know exactly what to say, when to say, and how to say to get the people rally behind them. Take, for example, Uganda is suffering from poverty and starvation, and the inflation is killing the people in Uganda. But you never hear lawmakers looking for a way to tackle these problems that the people are facing. Rather, they will talk about LGBTQ influence in the country. They will go and pass anti-LGBTQ laws in the country. How does that benefit ordinary Ugandans? I don't know. How does that bring prosperity to the country? I have no idea. Next one, Ghana. Ghana is technically on a life support. In fact, Ghana is bankrupt. They cannot pay their bills anymore. It's just by the help of the IMF and the World Bank that Ghana is able to turn on the light. If this line of support from IMF and World Bank do not come in, Ghana will go dark. You will not hear lawmakers talking about how to tackle corruption, how to tackle embezzlement, how to provide jobs for the people, how to improve the living standard of ordinary Ghanaians. You will not hear lawmakers talking about that. You will hear them talking about LGBTQ, how they should pass more stricter laws against LGBTQ people. That is what everyone is talking about. Do you know what they're talking about? Because they know when that topic is being brought up, a lot of people will rally behind them. But that does not really benefit the people, does it? Because the people are still suffering, whether they pass the law or not. Talk about policy? No. They only talk about what they know will rally support in their favor. But let's continue. The next person said, was he ever normal? He has always been a hypocrite. How can you compare Ruto with Mandela's? Ruto has never tasted confirmation, if any kind, and he has always been a system person. He has always been crooked and corrupt with sticky fingers. He has never stood for anything apart from matters of personal benefit. The next person said, big mouth from outside. So let's move on to the next one. Ruto will be remembered for nothing but hypocrisy and posturing. It's good if he can actually get anything out of the impoverished EU. Ruto is an errand boy of the Atlantis movement. He speaks from both sides of the mouth. Let us finish his thing and quit. African Union must stop these ridiculous meetings. Africa is continent, not a country. Shame to those presidents who still participating. Ruto is a Queenston puppet. He has been accelerating these bad decisions. Get him out of there. We American blacks need Africa to prosper. I knew him since before, so I'm not surprised. Well, those were some of the comments from people who find William Ruto so distasteful due to his recent actions. Because I have always said this, right? If you said something, stand by it. Put your money where your mouth is. You cannot go out there and set something and then do not follow through with it. Ruto said that it's disgraceful for us to just go to Europe when they invite us. But when Italy calls, he quickly answered. It's quite a shame. It's quite a shame. When you behave like this, you lose all credibility and people do not take you seriously anymore. But you guys out there, let us know your take on the stories we covered today. And also, please kindly like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel because that helps us a lot and we shall forever be grateful to you. And remember one thing, like I said before, our show is a conversational one, so we shall be very happy if you participate by commenting or sharing some personal experiences with us in the comment section below. We shall give a shout out to you if you do that. Thank you very much for doing just that. And like always, see you in the next one.